Discovering everything such as facts and the history about your ancestors uncover incredible details about yourself. Ancestry, which is important yet dangerous. However, family sagas have always been a captivating topic, both in literature and in real life. It has been proven that proliferation has been used as a strategy by the dominant culture to invalidate the experiences of those less privileged in order to usurp real property or real rights belonging to another race. For many Africans, blended ancestry is an integral part of their identity to slavery. Slavery has existed as long as human civilization, famously in ancient Egypt and in Roman Empire. But before then as well, the Code of Hammurabi, for an example, 1760 BCE, prescribed death for anyone who helped a slave escape. In the Shanghai dynasty of ancient China, also the second millennium BCE, slaves were as much as 5% of the population. Slavery was also practiced amongst the native, quote-unquote, Black, Indigenous, and Afro-Asian, who enslaved each other before the arrival of Europeans, which consequently made it the most horrifying when having to live with the sequences of slavery, conjoined with an uphill battle compared to so-called white foreign Americans. A good portion of the financial inequality that exists is due to the trickling down of a white ancestral compromise as a plan to attack, using procreation as a trojan in order to hijack the inheritance of what was once the copper color race. Americans, misnomer Americans, e.g. Black American Indians. During the time of the ethnic transformation, the colonizers' agenda was to benefit from foreign trade, which consist of white, mulatto, mixed women, who were the biggest commodity during the time of the infamous Atlantic slave trade. Over time, and since today, the colonizer was able to embellish any traces of the old identity in the historical artifacts showing evidence of Black Indians. A false simulation of Black American Indian was placed in the minds of people by a de facto Hollywood version of the American Indian, who is without argument not indigenous to the Americas. How often do we see news stories about police targeting or using excessive force on a white person? While it and undoubtedly has happened at one point or another, African Americans and so-called Africans, because of the mislabeled of identity given by the oppressor during the time of slavery, which was never repealed. And as a result, so-called African Americans have been fighting an uphill battle trying to correct their status and classification that truly reflects their true ancestry and identification. The following facts will disclose key information that has been embellished over the past centuries with regards to indigenous standing versus Black racial status. A small percentage of Africans from what is presently known as England was known as Africa and has people confused with West Africa, which is a lie told by European Caucasians to confuse you about them being you. When during that time period, the Caucasians were slaves and the Blackamoors were the ones that led the expedition. England used to be called Africa under King George III. Black Native Americans have all been ignored in this country. We have been written out of their history books, and when telling history, it is as if we never existed in the first place. The truth is this country was filled with Black so-called Native American Indian tribes. Some of the earliest settlers of America may have come from Australia, Southern Asia, or the Pacific. New research suggests as to say that the inhabitants of these lands were already civilizations that were indigenous to their land and not brought there. According to author James W. Lowen, in his best-selling book, Lies My Teacher Told Me, virtually none of the body of knowledge that's taught in school curricula and world history has an ounce of truth regarding the American holidays, Thanksgiving, or Statue of Liberty. The facts of the matter are that this country was filled with first Americans, so-called Black pre-colonial American Indians. The academic supports narrative taught Europeans brought civilization to America is not just a lie, but the biggest secret now in this time period. Here's what an expedition of European explorers actually found upon their arrival to North America in 1580
California's Native American identity. The original indigenous inhabitants of California were the descendants of South America's Alamacs, She Empire, 1500 to 400 BCE. Egypt, Asia, and Pacific Islands traveled back and forth across the waters and land, creating a mixed culture nation that thrived for thousands of years in peace. They were Californian blacks, or also referred to as Califians. The Californian blacks, one of the largest and oldest Native Americans in America. The Californian blacks were followers of the principle of Ma'at, and they studied, exalted, and sought to emulate mythical gods of Kemet, including the most important, Isis, Horus, and Ra. They believed in one supreme god. They were lovingly ruled by matriarchal systems, descendants of African queens, most notable and legendary queens of California and the Pacific Islands nations. Califia, or California, their true lineage and powerful existence across the globe has been systematically erased. A worldwide genocide of biblical proportions with lines that is still in play to this very day. When the enslaved African and European slaves from now known as England, slave ships got here, dark brown and black complected Native American tribes were already present. The research exists that tells of Abakari II from Maui arrived 200 years before Columbus, and even before that, Africans from the era of the Egyptian dynasties arrived between 3100 and 2100 BC. Some of the most important secret histories related to so-called black people in America pertain directly to the subject and discussion of reparations and restoration. The forbidden ideal in America is never to admit so-called Black American Aborigines and that they were indigenous to the Americas.